Well, welcome everybody, and thank you for joining us for the Epic Love Lounge. This is what I like to call episode 5. Mayan calls it session 5. We're still arm wrestling over what we call it. The reality is it's just the 5th conversation in this little series that we're doing. We have one more week scheduled for next week. Next week, though, will be on Wednesday. We had a conflict that we couldn't change. So the 6th and final episode will be next Wednesday. So mark the calendars if you plan to attend. Today, we are planning on talking about something that is near and dear to our hearts because so many of us want information, want the techniques, the tools, the like, how do I do things? And I was one of those people for sure. I was a trier. If you've ever done Clifton Strengths Finders, which is a great little test to understand your personality and your strengths, in my top 5 is what's called input. Input is somebody who gathers information with the express purpose of storing it and then giving it back out when people want it, need it. I think so. I was always collecting information, collecting, but it didn't seem to matter how much information, how many tools, how many resources I kept really struggling and creating sabotaging results. And so I would use tools and they would kind of work and then something would happen and I would sabotage it. And it wasn't until I did some deep inner work through a technique that we are both now master practitioners of. Mayan's actually certified to train other people in the technique. That I was able to uncover a deep belief system that I had built my life on. And that is a lie, basically. We'll talk about that more in depth. But for me, I believed that I would always be a disappointment. And that, when you believe that, is going to rule your life. So we're going to talk today about the belief systems, about the identity and the inner work and how, when you do that inner work and how to do that inner work, it's what sets you free so that all the things that you know, all the techniques that we talk about, any place that you've read a book or learned anything, why it hasn't worked up until now, when we do the inner work, that releases it. And then that information can become wisdom that you actually operate on. And that's where we started having a great relationship when I let go of that old belief system, replaced it with a new identity that I could be a great husband. And then from there, the actions, the wisdom made sense and started working.
Yeah, and how that may show up is you might experience patterns being repeated over and over again, even though you know that maybe it's reminiscent of your parents' pattern, maybe that, seeing them either argue or cheat or something like that. And then you're experiencing that in your life too. Or it's like the opposite of, oh no, I really don't want that. And then you swing all the way to the other side of the pendulum, which is kind of what I did. My parents, they stayed together for until my dad passed. And I was one of those kids that was like, oh, I wish my parents would get divorced because I would see them arguing every single day. And it was really stressful to be in that environment. And so for me, how that showed up was I made a decision really early on that I was not going to be in a relationship like that where we would argue all the time. Right. And so I think at a very young age, I made that decision. And how that would then later translate into my relationships and into my marriage was I kept myself small. I kept my voice limited because I thought, if I bring up things and it can cause fights or arguments, then I'm going to end up in the type of relationship, the type of environment dynamics that my parents had, which was not what I wanted. So unknowingly, right, I then showed up this way to attract a partner who was very strong in his opinions, very strong where if I even were to try to bring up something, he would, he would not crush it, but he would definitely be very loud. And because of the dynamic, because of the dynamic that I had attracted and who I was being, it was the perfect dynamic, right? It was the perfect thing. And so that's another example of how subconscious patterns and beliefs can show up is you're either trying to not repeat something that you saw in childhood or you are actually repeating that kind of thing.
I want to just clarify something you said because I understood it, but I
Mhm.
want to clarify it. You said it was the perfect partnership.
Perfect toxic.
Yeah, right. And so the way that I translate what you're saying there is
Mhm.
whenever one side shows up a certain way, it's kind of like the balancing of scales. Like you don't just have a perfect relationship. If one of you is one way, the other one has to go down. Like it has to balance out. And so you don't get them going up and down. You have to create that up and down movement. So if you are silent, you're going to attract somebody who uses their voice a lot.
Yep.
And that works in so many different ways. We just had dinner with a woman here.
And I'll just add
Yeah, go
real
ahead.
quick, so I went from listening to my mom telling me what to do, right, to then my sister telling me what to do in college, and she was almost like my second mom because I had moved away, went to college, and then but my sister was around, so then she stepped into that role. And then I met my ex-husband and started dating him, so then he stepped into the role of telling me what to do, and I accepted it because that's what I was used to.
Yeah. We sometimes this is childhood stuff. Sometimes it's later in life stuff. We just had dinner with an amazing, powerful woman. She's a coach and everything. But she shared the story that she was married for, I think, 20 something years.
Mhm.
And then he asked for a divorce and it was terrible. And she, after a few months of being single, started dating again. And she thought it was amazing for about well, she was together with that man for about 4 years. And she thought it was amazing at first because the first husband was super controlling, super stubborn, very just like, this is the way that it is. And then the second man was completely the opposite and like very willing to listen, very willing to try different things. But he was to the other extreme, which was like a pushover. And that's what often happens is your experience on one end creates a story. The story then is, how do I protect myself from experiencing that again? So we swing all the way to the other side, which also isn't healthy, but it's what we create to make sure that we don't experience that other thing. And this happens in childhood. It happens later in like junior high, those pivotal transformative years, and it can even happen later in life. And so we want to talk today, what are the patterns that you can start to recognize, and then how do you shift that from a, instead of a reactionary autopilot self um, protection mechanism, into a conscious aware uh, empowered state that you can make the right decision instead of just a reactionary swing to the other direction.
Yeah.
That's it. Just yeah.
Well,
uh,
I'm curious if
yeah,
any of
that's
this
what I was.
is landing, yeah, for you. What is resonating? What is it coming, what is it bringing up for you as you're listening to us share these different stories and experiences? Can you see yourself?
Yeah, it's just happened in anybody's life that you can look back and see, oh, I did this. Like, parents treated me this way. I swung the opposite way. Or I experienced this in a relationship or this in a situation in school and I swung the opposite way.
I'm seeing some
Trina, I
head.
see that's Trina's hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, if someone else has a great example, I'd love it. So early on in my marriage, he had this friend before we got married. He had this friend and they would talk for hours and hours. And then I got married to him and I'm like, why don't you talk to me? Like you talked to that other friend. And he's like, well, I didn't marry her. But then there's I wonder I see this where even from our last conversation last week where we were talking about a woman stepping in with, okay, well, if the man isn't providing the masculine role, and I'll do it. And if he's not talking, I'll talk a lot. And so I'm just exploring that of like, okay, so how do we create balance and the epic love we desire?
It's a good question. I want to make sure that I understand it, but it sounds almost like whether or not his relationship, I'm going to assume, was a platonic relationship. I'm going to guess that that relationship was a like feminine energy to feminine energy. And this feminine to feminine is why women can go to brunch together and sit and just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. And they never get tired of talking. They just run out of time and then they have to go until the next time they can get together and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. Talk again. But then the masculine often isn't as verbose, it's more proficient. And there's lots of reasons that people speculate why. Um, it could even go back to in ancient times, the men were the hunters and the women were the gatherers. And so as gatherers, you actually want to be making noise because your noise will scare off, predators or something like that if there's a bunch of you. But if you're hunting, you've got to be silent. You have to be efficient with your communication. Sometimes it's looks. Like, we could just make eye contact and have a whole conversation. I've done that with men where it's like, you just look at the guy and you both kind of bust out laughing inside, or you both know it's time for us to fight. Like, there's no word said at all. And yet we set a whole conversation with our facial structure, with our eye contact, with just the nonverbals. Men in that masculine don't need the words. And so in your situation, you might have been bringing that masculine energy, and now he's in the feminine, and maybe he's not as comfortable. And so I'm definitely speculating here as far as what that could be. But knowing and understanding these things can help create the better communication. And one of those things that we talked about in one of the previous episodes is orientation. Did we talk about that, or was that one of our last group coaching calls?
You might have mentioned it.
Yeah, orientation is huge when you're talking to a man and trying to bring out those conversations and those vulnerabilities. So I'll be brief on this because I may have covered it recently, but when we'll go back to that same analogy of women sitting and talking over brunch, they're sitting across the table, eye contact to eye contact, and they're just in it, in the whole story. If you want to get that conversation from a man, do not sit across from him. Sit next to him, go for a walk with him, ride in the car with him, sit at the bar with him and look at the show. Let him work on the car. Sorry, we're having a lighting issue. Looks like we just got pulled over. Sorry, let's just unplug that. We may be a little dark, but I don't want anybody having a seizure with this going on here. There we go. So yeah, let him work on a project on the car or do yard work and just be near him and have the conversation. His brain, he will be more open to talking if he's not making eye-to-eye contact. That eye-to-eye contact in his biological history, all the mimetic memory there, eye contact is very confrontational for men. You're in the middle of a negotiation, a battle, a duel, a sword fight, like you're lined up across the line of scrimmage from another football player. That eye contact is threatening, and it's very difficult for him to show vulnerability with the eye contact. So allow him to sit beside you. So that's not the purpose of today's talk, but I hope that helps. And we definitely have more resources on that. We can.
Angus, can I make a comment?
Please.
I was married for 40 years, and what you're saying is so true. To get to talk to my husband, I would get him in the car, so we'd be sitting side by side. But where I made the mistake was every afternoon we'd have coffee and I'd be telling him about the problems. We had a child with multiple disability, but thinking this through now, he obviously came from the feminine. I was the masculine. I had to solve the problems. And it's strange because I've done it all my life. My father had gone when I was very young, and my mother expected me to sort of flip in and take the place and, all that sort of stuff. But it hasn't changed. And I look back now and I've actually stayed with him and his new partner. I mean, it was a shock when it happened, when he walked out. But I think in a way he did me a favor because that's not what I'm looking for.
Right.
And I'm in a relationship, but not a sexual relationship at the moment with a guy. And he's more into his feminine. And he can sit and talk with me about the ups and downs that are going on through the family and all that sort of thing, and, puts different perspectives on things.
Right.
But there's no attraction there.
Yeah.
And I met him when he came in to fix my dishwasher. And being cheeky, I said, "How'd you like to go out for coffee?" Anyway, he finished the job and shot out the door. 10 minutes later, he came knocking on the door.
I love it.
So, my question sort of is how do I find this in a man that is has this more feminine what you would call it nature? Am I wrong by being in my masculine? This is just where I'm at.
Yes. Good
Do you
question.
change or what do you do?
That's a fabulous question. I have an idea, but I'd like to go to you first if you have it. I'll do it if you don't. I want to check.
I mean, I do have a thought. I feel like it's our whole dating by design process when
Gotcha.
we walk people through.
Yeah. So we have a 5-week course called Dating by Design that might be really, really powerful for you and some of the other people that are on this call. But one of the things is that we have a test that we offer in that course where you get to figure out, do you actually like being in the masculine? Because there are lots of women who, when they're in their masculine, they feel super empowered. Like that's where they want to be. It's their
Nature.
we use the term dominant. Are you masculine dominant or feminine dominant? Because all of us have both. So don't get us wrong. Not every woman should be in her feminine all the time. We're not saying any of that. We all have both. I'm in my feminine regularly. In fact, I would say that I'm naturally more feminine than she is.
Okay.
Energy. Again,
Yeah, I
feminine,
get it.
nothing to do with me doing my nails or, primping my hair. It's nothing to do. It's the energy.
Yeah.
I learned because I had 2 failed relationships. Oh, this is one of the things that's happening. I'm more of the receiving, more reactionary, and they're looking for me to be more of the leader and set the tone, set the vision, and move the relationship forward. And so that was a problem in my previous relationship. So I learned how to shift into my masculine more readily and stay there more often. And she was the opposite. She grew up in that really restricted home where it's like you have to do these things. The doing was required in her home. So she's naturally gravitating toward the masculine. But both of us realize, even though we naturally gravitate to those things, it's not what makes us feel good. We feel better when I'm in my masculine and when she's in her feminine. And so that's part of that test is their quiz more
In
than
a
test.
relationship, I mean.
Yeah, in a relationship. That quiz, we ask you questions to figure out, do you feel more empowered in your masculine or feminine? Are you looking for a relationship where you get to be as a woman in your masculine more often than in your feminine? So there's no right or wrong answer here. We're not coming from a place of judgment. Love what you said, because you found this man and you've got a good relationship, but you're finding yourself in that masculine more often than it sounds like you want to be. It's like you want him to step into the masculine. So,
You mean the relationship that I have now with this friend? Is
Yes.
that the one you're talking about? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So here's the thing, as I was talking about before with the scales, if you show up in one of those energies more dominantly, you'll attract the opposite energy most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're in your masculine, which for everybody listening here, this is a great example. When you saw something in that man and you found him attractive enough to invite him to coffee, you were in your masculine by leading that relationship. There's nothing wrong with that. Just know that if you lead the relationship and he says yes, you're in the masculine and he's in the feminine, and it's going to probably be difficult for you to shift out of that later. It's going to take some real attention to detail in how you're showing up and how to shift that.
Yeah. I've noticed that. Like I'm always the one that calls on a Saturday, and he'll come over and cook the barbecue and da 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 da, and that's lovely. But sometimes I just get so fed up with always being the one. But I've noticed that a lot of women lately saying to me, I mean, I was married for 40 years and I'm now 80. And a lot of women say, oh, Joy, I'm so in awe of you. Get over it. But, and I find it even with my women friends, they expect me to lead.
Yeah. Here's how I define it, whether or not you want to stay in that masculine dominant role, because you're gifted in it. You've learned how to do it. You've done it for so long. You've gravitated to it that it's become habitual. It's where you are most of the time. So most people think that's my dominant energy. But the difference is what you just said. You're exhausted of being in your dominant masculine energy. A true dominant masculine energy actually gains energy from being in that role and from leading and serving.
A lot of times I do, Angus. A lot of times I do. Like the grandkids are coming to me because their mother, who has autism, can't deal with these things. And people say to me, oh, you don't want to be doing that. But I mean, it's a gift, isn't it? It's not something that I sought.
Sure.
It's just a gift. And like I serve.
Yep.
And there's nothing wrong with serving, but it's also nice if things come back. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And especially when you're serving somebody, how do I want to say this? Somebody more vulnerable or
Like a child.
yeah, like somebody that you're in a position above them, whether it's at work or whether it's a child or a grandchild, you almost by definition, and this is something that most people don't know and some people don't even agree with this. Mothering is typically masculine energy.
Oh, because
Most
you've got to make all the decisions.
Yeah,
True.
exactly.
True.
When you're a woman and you're in that marriage initially, if he's in the masculine and you're in the feminine, that's all great. But as soon as like he goes to work and now you have children, they're the feminine energy. They're the receiving, reciprocating. You're the masculine energy. You're doing for them. You're providing for them. You're protecting them. You're serving them. That is why nobody ever talks about father bear energy, right? We've all heard like, you don't mess with the mama bear. That mama bear has, and this is where the feminine, when she's in her masculine, can be terrifying. There are men all over this planet who are terrified of women who are in their masculine, because when she flips, it's more scary than when a man who's in his natural masculine, like is confrontative.
Like I always say, you know, if I get backed into a corner, God help you.
Exactly.
I'll put up and I'll put up and I'll put up, and then one day it just explodes. But I tell you, can I just give you a little example of what happened yesterday?
Sure.
I've got an older sister. She's a year older than me. We've never had a good relationship. And it just dawned on me the other day, I'm pretty sure she's on the spectrum, right?
Okay.
Very cruel about me behind my back always, right?
Okay.
And it's never changed. In fact, this year, I hope I'm not getting off the subject too much. This year, I didn't invite her to my 80th birthday because I wanted to be at peace and know that everything was going along and the people there were, you know, were okay. And she got very angry. But my eldest daughter says to me, Mum, you're like a soldier out in the field. You leave no man behind. And because we've never really got along, I still try to have some sort of relationship with her, though I know it's never going to be what I want it to be. So yesterday I set up a coffee with her, and it's the same old whinging, complaining. And I just thought, Lord, you are who you are, and I can just love you for who you are and let it go at that.
Yeah.
But it's never going to be what I would like it to be.
Gotcha.
So, yeah. So, you know, we've got these intricate personalities, don't we? And sometimes we don't know what to do with them.
That's a great point, and I'll kind of wrap up this, and we'll get back to the other topic with this statement. We do have all of those things, and the point of these types of conversations is to bring awareness, because once you're aware of, oh, I just shifted into my, do I need to go there? Do I want to be there? Oh, I would prefer to go back into my feminine and let him be in the masculine, or whatever it might be. But the awareness is the beginning of the change. Because until you're aware, you're just on autopilot, and it's like you're playing a game that you've played 1,000 times. You just know, my turn to do this move. It's my turn to, you pick the game, whether it's a video game or Uno or what, like I pick up this card, I put it down. I pick up this, we just go on autopilot until we go, is this the way that I want to react? Is this the way that I want to feel? And making that conscious decision is the beginning of changing results. So, but I appreciate you bringing that up, Joy. It was a great conversation to have.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Doc Heather also added some things in the chat.
Go ahead. Will you read them for me?
Sure. She said, I don't know which one I am. I was my parents marrying my mom and my dad, divorced both now. I'm not sure which one I am. So I think we were talking about this pendulum swing. Definitely on the masculine in both marriages, and they were the feminine, which is my parents, to date. But I've learned better, and I'm not dating now. She's in her robe. Bedtime. Yeah. I know. Next time maybe we'll show up in our robes too.
Probably not, but
Yeah.
that's a whole different course.
Late night lounge. She appreciated knowing about the eye-to-eye contact.
Yeah, perfect. So it really is, it's so powerful when you recognize the energy that you're in. And when you learn to choose, you have a choice. Like Mayan and I, we talk about this a lot, but because she's naturally in her masculine and because we work together, it's common for us during the workday to, we're aware of this more than most people are, but we'll have a conversation of like, okay, you're taking the lead on this. Okay, I'm following you. Or something like, hey, this was your project. Tell me how I can support. That's a conversation that we have. And I would encourage you in your relationships to have that conversation, because if you don't have that conversation, what happens is, this is a brilliant quote from about 2 years ago. The quote is, uncommunicated expectations are premeditated resentments.
Mm,
I'll say that again. Uncommunicated expectations are premeditated resentments. So when you think that's his job, he should be doing it, or this is a need, how does he not know to meet it? And you just don't communicate, hey, this is a need. I really, I want to feel this way toward you, and it's not happening. Now I just resent you because I didn't tell you, but I feel like you should know. Assume that he's not going to figure it out. When I met her and we first started talking, and I'm a pretty aware guy, pretty sensitive. I read between the lines, but I have had this problem in my previous relationships. And I said, if you want something or need something, don't hint. Just assume I won't catch the hint and tell me what you want or what you like or what you need. Because I don't want to be in that situation where you think I should just know. I have no clue, because I've got 17,000 other things going through my brain at any given time with my other job, my other businesses, and all these different things. I might not catch that hint for weeks. And if you don't communicate that to me, it's not my fault if I don't meet the need. If you don't communicate the need to me, as soon as you communicate it to me, then it's my responsibility to make sure that that need is met or negotiated or something.
I mean, there's the whole concept of inferential versus.
Yeah, we could definitely get into that.
Yeah.
Do you want to do that for a few minutes?
Sure. I mean,
This
it's
is
a tangent, but
it is a
it's
total tangent.
advanced communication skills.
Yes. This is huge. Almost nobody talks about this either. So there are inferential and literal speakers, and there are inferential and literal listeners. So let's give an example. A literal speaker might say something like, I'm thirsty. Will you get me a drink? And an inferential speaker like Mayan might say something like, I'm thirsty.
Thirsty. Yeah. And that's it.
That's
I'm
it.
thirsty.
Now, what can often happen is that is not a statement of thirstiness. It's a request, but it's an inferred request. Now, if I am an inferred listener, I will hear that and get up and get her a drink of water. Now, that can cause a couple problems. Maybe she's not thirsty for water. Maybe she wants coffee or juice or you name it. But if I'm inferring, I can create a problem because I don't know actually what she wants. Now, if I was a literal listener and she says I'm thirsty, I might say something like, yeah, I'm thirsty too. Or I too once have thirsted.
And then that'll cause a problem because I'm like, why aren't you getting me some water?
Exactly. Now, again, this comes back to awareness. You should know if you're an inferential speaker or an inferential listener. And you should become aware that, oh, I have a tendency to speak this way. And then I get annoyed when my partner or my kids or my whoever doesn't infer what I'm inferring. Like they're not taking the prompt. That can happen so often. And it goes back to that uncommunicated expectation is a premeditated resentment. Now you're mad because I didn't get you a drink, but you didn't ask me for a drink. You just told me you were thirsty. How am I supposed to know that you want me to go get you a drink? If I was thirsty, I would just go get myself a drink. So you should go get yourself a drink, or you should ask me to get you a drink. This happens all the time in relationships, and it breeds little seeds of contempt, little seeds of resentment. And we don't know why after 6, 7, 25, 40 years, we can't stand the other person. Because we haven't actually maintained the relationship. we've sowed these little tiny seeds of discord. We've kept little records of the wrongs that have been made to us over all these years. And they were started by us.
What about when you're in this marriage and, like, I'm the masculine, and you're wanting something from your partner and they're unable or unwilling to give it? That's where I had the biggest problems.
Great question. So those are two very, very different things. Somebody who's unable to give you something is one thing. Somebody who's unwilling to give you something is a whole other issue, right? So you have to handle those two things separately. I don't think we have enough time to get into all of that topic today. We may have to address that at another time. But negotiation is part of relationship. So you get to have the conversation of, this is a real need. It has to be met for me to be, to survive, to be happy, whatever it is. If you can't meet it, or if you won't meet it, should I stay in this relationship? Or how do we as a couple, as a team, because this is one thing that I think most people miss. The problem is the problem. Your partner is not the problem. Your partner is your teammate. And you as a team need to solve that problem. So if that need can't be met, how can we come together as a team to find some solution to get that need met? And obviously every problem has 1,000 different options for the ways to do that. So there's no way for us to talk about that without a specific problem, but that's not today's call. But that's something to really keep in mind. As a team, it's your job to solve the problems of life. So you get to learn things like we were just talking about, advanced communication skills, so that you can communicate in a healthy manner to progress toward the solution of problems, instead of making the other guy the bad guy who's always making our relationship bad and wrong. So I hope that helps. Let's get back to unconscious patterns.
Yeah.
Um,
If this is helpful, let me know. Let us know in the chat too, as we're kind of moving back to the topic. But if what we just shared is helpful. Yeah, Trina says very
perfect.
cool.
Yes, absolutely.
Cool.
Good. Okay. So let's get back to the unconscious stuff. So we shared the story of me with what we call the greater problem. And the greater problem is just a term for the lie that you build your life on. Can you talk about Landmark? Because so many of you guys have done inner work. You've been doing stuff for years. Like, you've gone through programs and coaching and all that kind of stuff. Many of you have probably heard of Landmark. It's pretty
Or
big.
even done it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty big personal growth organization.
Yeah.
I'm neutral on, is it a good one or not? It's like, there's benefits to it, but
Yeah, that was my first kind of foray into personal development. And when I took that, one of the concepts that they talked about, I've been through probably 3 different curriculums of theirs. And one of the things that they talk about is that you will always have what they call unanswerable question. So it is something about you that you're going to keep asking yourself over and over again, and it's going to be unanswerable. So, for example, I'll give you, when I went through it, what came up for me was the question of, am I worthy? Am I worthy? Am I worthy? And it's not something that you think about it, like, it's not really a daily conversation starter, right? But it's in the back of my mind. And how that started was because I am the second of 2 kids. And growing up Chinese, my parents wanted a boy because in Chinese culture, boys are really important. They pass along the last name. They represent the family, all of that. And so my parents from a very young age was like, oh, we wanted a boy and you were not it. And so they,
2 girls, basically.
yeah. So
Tutors.
yeah, my older sister and me. And so I internalized that from a very young age, probably in the womb, I would say. Like, I could feel that, experience that. And that was experience in my body and my cells, and created in my belief system that no matter what I did, like, I'm never going to be a boy. So I'm not worthy inherently. Like, that I can't actually believe that I am worthy because I'm not what my parents wanted.
And then to validate that belief, your
To
mom.
validate it, my mom had some issues around postpartum. And so she actually sent me away to live with a nanny when I was a baby. And so I would hear these stories of being sent away. And it wasn't until I ended up in the hospital that my dad was like, no, we got to bring her back. And so growing up hearing the stories, it further validated that, oh my gosh, like I'm going to be abandoned. I'm not good enough to fit in this family. And it really built my belief system. And so, therefore, like I shared earlier, I believe that I needed to suppress my desires, my voice, my feelings, all of that so that I wouldn't get kicked out of the family. But this is all subconscious, right? It was deep in the subconscious.
Let's talk about how that works. So the technical term for this kind of thing is what's called a gestalt. You don't need to remember that, but a gestalt is just the series of significant emotional events that either are so intense one time or stack up over time that they become a belief system. So she already had those two events right out of the gate, both of them pretty significant. And then later on in life, her dad would like say he was going to come pick you up from school or the park or something, and then he'd be late, a significant amount of time late.
Yeah.
And that would just trigger that same gestalt. And what happens is you start to stack evidence of like, see, I knew it. I knew I wasn't worthy. Knew I'd be abandoned. I knew. And our brains they love to be right, even about pain. We would rather know that we're going to be hurt than be surprised that we're hurt. They've done studies and tests on this. People will actually shock themselves more often than allowing a random participant to decide when they're going to get shocked. They will shock themselves more than the random participant would shock them just because they know and can prepare and like click that button and like, okay, there it is. I got it, but I knew it was coming. Our brains are like that. And so to prevent the pain, we build up an anticipation of, I'm going to get hurt again. I'm going to get abandoned again. I'm unloved. So we start to protect ourselves. But the problem is that when we protect ourselves, you guys have probably all, well, we've got some new faces on here today, so maybe you haven't. You've heard me talk about the horror stories, the horror movies. Like we would rather like protect ourselves from the monster who's going to get us than focus on what we want and like running to help. And because we're looking back, afraid of what has happened in the past, it's what causes us to trip up. What we focus on is what we get. What we align our energy with is what manifests in our life. So if you're constantly looking and afraid of something, I love the expression that fear is just perverted faith. I'll say that again. Fear is perverted faith. Fear is the belief in the bad over the good. If you have faith, it's always towards something good. If you have fear, it's faith in the bad getting you. And so with that, when you have those wounds and those stacked up things, we like to be right. See, I knew it. Well, then you have such a habit of that you'll bring that into your relationship. You'll attract a great person, but because you still believe that thing, oh, I know I'm going to get abandoned. I don't want to get abandoned. I don't want to be surprised. So then you'll actually do things to irritate that relationship and push him away so that he'll abandon you so that you can be like, see, I knew it. And it feels good to be like, see, told you so. But it doesn't feel good. It just avoids the pain of the future possibility of being right. You controlled being right. You made it right now. And this happens over and over in all kinds of different areas of our life until we get to the root of those issues. So going back to what you were talking about with Landmark, because I kind of took us on a little sidebar there, but
Yeah.
They told you about your unanswerable question, or they helped you
Right.
figure that out.
Yeah. So I got clarity. Oh my gosh, looking back, I can see how basically every decision that I ever made, from the college I went to the major that I chose, to the city I lived in, and all of that, it was because I didn't feel like I had a choice. I didn't feel I was worthy. And so looking back, I can see how this one belief, this one lie, basically my entire life was built upon it. Right. And so what was a little disheartening, a little disencouraging about that was their concept is that this is an unanswerable question, meaning you will never be able to resolve it. This is something that will be open ended. You will always have to consciously think about it. And yes, awareness is great. Like we've been talking about, having awareness is that first step. But it didn't quite sit well with me of like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to struggle with this my entire life. And so the work that we have been trained in, neurolinguistic programming, and really looking at the subconscious mind, how do you work to rewire it? It has turned that around so that it's not only has it been answered, meaning I know that I'm worthy. I believe that I'm worthy and I'm embodied in that and I can take action from that space. And so when we talk about subconscious programming that is outdated and isn't working for you, there is absolutely a way to shift that, to rewire that.
I remember an old pastor of mine taught from a book and recommended a book to the leadership team called The Power of the Subconscious Mind. And I read the book and I was like, yes, this is where my problems are. It like completely confirmed that my problems weren't in like my conscious mind head because I knew the right stuff. The problems were somewhere down in the unconscious. It's so much more powerful than the conscious mind. The problem with that book and with almost everything else that I had found was that it didn't tell you how to change the subconscious. It was like, just like your awareness from Landmark of like, this is your unanswerable question. Well, it's like, thanks. Great. Now I have a question that's unanswerable. What am I supposed to do with that? So, and I still kept creating the same types of problems, even though now I was aware of it. But that gave me hope that if I could figure out how to communicate with the unconscious and change that, that it would shift things. And that's where we actually met on that journey. She was going through it on her own. I was going through it on my own. And we discovered a tool and a technique that isn't new. It's been around for 30, 40, well, it was from the 70s, I guess. So now coming up on 50s-ish years. And it's proven that helped us release those things. And it's not easy. And it's the most worthwhile time I've ever spent. Like that 8 hours or so that it takes to do that breakthrough intensive session. At the end of it, I remember saying to myself, that is so gross that I used to believe that, and that I have created all of my life circumstances based upon that belief. Like I used to blame other people for problems, but after releasing it, it was so clear, so evident that I was the source because of that belief. Like obviously it started in my childhood and stuff, like little things that I got that I started to believe I would be a disappointment. But then after it was internalized, now I'm the source of creating that over and over. And it wasn't until somebody knew how to talk to my unconscious mind and allow me to release that I was able to have such freedom. And you guys have probably all heard the expression be, do, have, which is kind of an Eastern ancient philosophy, more of like a Buddhist kind of a mentality. Here in the West, it's like you have to have the things, you have to do the thing so that you can be a millionaire, right? Like, so you have to grind and hustle so that you can have the money so that you can eventually get $1 million so that you can be a millionaire. But the ancient philosophies, and even if you really get into the weeds of like Christianity and stuff, there's so much talk about who you are and your identity. Like in the Bible, it talks about your identity in Christ. In the Old Testament, it talks about God. He says, I am that I am. The thing that we follow I am with is our identity. So if you hear yourself say, I'm such a loser, I'm so unlovable, I'm always falling for stuff, I'm so gullible, I'm so worthless, I'm such a piece of shit, like whatever it is that you follow I am with is you speaking your belief system about your identity. And if it's not, I'm amazing, I'm lovable, I'm a great husband. If it's not something that is empowered and congruent, because you can say those things, like everybody talks about affirmations, but if you have affirmations that you say, and as soon as you think it or say it, you feel like it's not true.
Or you have that little voice inside your head, like, I don't think so.
That's not for you. Like that's for other people, but not for you. Like if you have that dissonance, that energetic dissonance there, it's going to create problems. You're not going to manifest what you said out loud because it's not in alignment with what you believed at your unconscious. In fact, that little voice is telling you what you're going to manifest. It's going, you're going to get the opposite of that. I know that's what you want. So you're saying it, but it's not what we believe. You're not worthy of that. You're not going to get it. So until we release that stuff, we're going to continue to struggle to get different results.
Yeah. So there's two ways that you can see what's underneath, what's lurking underneath. One is looking at your results. So if you have an alignment of your desires plus your belief systems, you're going to create the results that you want.
It's inevitable.
Yeah. So even if you think about different areas of your life, right, whether it's health, whether it's family, friends, career, the areas that are going really well or seem seemingly easy for you, those are the ones that you don't have any conflicting beliefs and desires.
You're already in like empowered alignment.
Yeah. But for most of us, there's at least one or maybe a couple areas where it's like, I really want this. And I've been working at it for so many years, for so long. And for whatever reason, like, just doesn't seem to work out for me. And other people, it looks like it's easy for them. And when you have that experience, that's a sign that there's an incongruence, there's a misalignment between your desires and your beliefs. The second way is what we talked about, like the little voice inside your head when you're like, I'm going to be, say, I don't know, I'm going to be a millionaire. But you don't have great spending habits, or, you spend all your money, and
Or
there's that little thing.
money's evil. Or,
Right. Yep.
Like, yeah, there's so many little tiny belief systems that can absolutely ruin something. So,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So those are two, not easy, but two apparent, two ways that you can use to look at, okay, where is it that there might be some incongruence between my desires and my beliefs? And then that's evidence, that's, clues as to where we get to look.
Yeah. Let's open it up. If you guys, what are you hearing? What are your thoughts? What are your questions? What do we need to know?
What's resonating?
Yeah. What's it say in the chat? So Trina said, I think my question is, am I valuable? Okay. Worth exploring. Yeah. I have similar experiences. I have an older sister and I showed up like a tomboy. We were two girls. I hung around the boys at school, joined Boy Scouts around age 12. I didn't feel really valued by my sister.
I was a tomboy until probably 26.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, yeah.
Joyce,
Yeah. So the valuable question seems to be, it's like fighting for my value as a mom has been a big one.
Mm.
And then just like we separated in 2016 and like completely haven't been together with him since 2018, and it's 2025. And I have lots of friends and I keep them as friends usually, right? So like lots of guy friends, just like the scout troop.
Yeah.
They're still my buddies.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And so like your language around that, Trina, when you say like, I'm still fighting for my value, you only fight for something you don't have. Like you're only clawing and scratching for it. Like if you knew it intrinsically, you wouldn't have to fight for it. In fact, you wouldn't tolerate anybody who didn't see your value. You would be like, that person does not belong in my life because they don't treat me like I'm valuable, and I know I'm valuable.
yeah. And for me, it's my teenagers.
Yeah.
I'm like, how do I just like decide I don't tolerate my teenagers that they just don't value me, right? So that's that's the game I've been playing for the last year, and I've been shifting that.
I'm going to pause you because it's not your teenagers. Your teenagers are just reflecting.
I know. Yeah, I know. Yeah, because I know I went through my I just was going through this recently. Like it was even like today of the fact, like just how that I had this belief that somehow I'm not good enough. And I'm like, I start to look back and I'm like, what the heck? I was a really good mom. Like why did I think that I wasn't? And that for some reason, my kids should have a really good reason to not want to be here. But it seems like I've also kind of like elevated my kids above my pursuit of a man for this last year. And so I've been in this different headspace where, like, I don't know, when I first met you guys, I was all about guy. And for a year and a half, I was just like chasing guys. And then like, since I met you, and then like this last year, I've just been like, well, where's my kid? Like, why aren't my kids here? And how about I just forget the guy and focus on my kids for a bit? So
I have good news for you. It doesn't have to be either or.
I know. I'm
gonna encourage you to stop pursuing guys, because that's the masculine male energy is the pursuer, and we want to help you shift into your feminine where you are attracting, you're magnetic, you're captivating to a guy, but you're not the one that's looking, seeing where he's at, figuring out where to go, pursuing him. If you want to have a masculine energy man in your life, and I'm not saying you do, but I think from some of our conversations, I think that you do. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I was out this weekend. I was out at I attracted guys into my life this weekend, which is great. And one's following up with me, and I'm like, well, that's nice.
Let him lead. Let him lead.
And he's not a guy there again. It's like a guy of like, you're nice,
Yeah. So
great. I'm grateful that you think I'm amazing and you're nice. Great.
So what's the internal resistance as far as that goes? Why?
Well, he's just, I have very high standards and expectations, I guess. I'm like, I'll examine those.
Okay.
I do kind of have this like big ideal in my mind, and
okay.
So
gotcha. Let's see. Duck Heather says, nobody's listening or hears me. Nobody's interested in me. I did landmark before HCL. Don't remember this part. Okay.
Yeah, it might not have been from Landmark Forum. It might have been from the other courses. I've done their communication series. I've done team. I've done a few different of their different courses. So yeah, I don't remember which one exactly it's from, but
it was really helpful that you said what your question was. It's an unanswerable question, because I realized mine right at the moment you said it. It was so interesting. It was that I can't have what I want. And it was just really interesting. I don't know what to make of it yet, but I'm so glad you said that. It was so interesting. It just flitted right across my consciousness.
And can you see, like, we had a conversation with you earlier. Can you see how if you believe that, that's going to be what rules your life? Like, it's going to continue to manifest in your life. Oh, see, I can't have what I want. See, can't have what I want.
Yeah.
So we uproot that, which is what we've talked to you a little bit about. That breakthrough session, that will be uprooted day one. And when you uproot that and replace it with, what the heck, I'm amazing, I can have whatever I want, which is easy to say. It's difficult to believe when you have that deep-rooted belief system. And until you pull that out and replace it with something that's empowered and aligned and congruent with who you are, you're going to keep having those same, it doesn't matter how much you know. It doesn't matter how much information gets in your head. That is always going to be overridden by your unconscious mind.
I know, it's weird because I do think I'm amazing. Yeah. I know, I mean, that part I do, but it's so what? I still can't have what I want. But so I don't know if those two are, if it's just some kind of glitch in the matrix.
No, okay, because part of it is your conscious mind going, I am amazing. I know I'm amazing. But if your unconscious mind says it doesn't matter how amazing you are, you still can't want, it's going to overrule every time.
I guess I'm not amazing enough to get what I want. I can still be amazing, but not enough to get what I want. I mean,
you could still be amazing enough to get anything that you want. But if you don't believe it's possible to get what you want, you will sabotage it anyways. So like, even if that perfect guy comes in and he sees that you're amazing, you will do things to push him away because you believe you can't get what you want. So,
well, I might not want him. I think that's what I'm afraid of. If he wants me, then I might not want him. I mean, there've been a number of those happening in the some of them have been, both people coming together and really clicking.
Yep.
But some of them are the other way around. And it's not like, that's not what I want. I want something else.
And that could be part of the dynamic is if you have a subconscious belief that I can't have what I want, then you'll attract people that you don't want to validate. We talked about validating,
Yeah.
I will clarify one thing. We're focusing on the biggest lie at the bottom. There are lots of little lies on top of that. And so, and we help get to the root of each of those. But typically, if we can pull out the bottom one, it's like cracking the foundation and the whole system crumbles. And so you can have lots of little lies that you've built on top of that big lie. And so all of those things can be true at the same time. Like, it could even be like that Yogi Berra quote about that nobody goes to that place anymore. It's too busy. It's like, how can that be the case? Like, it's too busy. Nobody goes there anymore. Still, like, you could be attracting somebody amazing and you can't get what you want. And so you'll shut it down. I don't think my analogy there worked as good as I wanted. But the point is,
No, but I get what you're
Whole
saying.
foods.
Yeah, it'll actually seem like what I don't want because
Yeah.
it's got to fit the bill.
Yep.
Mhm.
exactly.
Yep.
Thank you. You heard better than I spoke, I think.
Okay. It was the Yogi Berra part was a little.
Yeah, I think you lost all of us on that one.
Sorry. Let's open it up. We have a couple minutes left. We do try to honor the time. We said it's going to be from 5 to 6 p.m. Pacific. So kind of the important part of what we had to talk about is covered, but we love to hear back from you guys. What's landing? What do you need to know? What do we need to know? And we'll stay on for a couple extra minutes if everybody wants. We do love when you share what landed with you. So even if you don't come on camera, if you'll send a little message, like what stuck out to you today? What did you learn that you're going to take away from this? And then if you have,
I was gonna say, and if this conversation sparks something in you of like, oh my gosh, I'm really starting to see there's something deeper that is incongruent with what I'm saying that I want. We're gonna open up our calendar. We're traveling next week, but we have a few slots open on our calendar, and we'd love to support you, give you maybe support you in getting some more insight and giving you a roadmap as to, okay, this is what it could look like to help you uproot it, to help you rewire it.
yeah, like if you heard this and you go, I've been gathering information for long enough, I should have different results by now, and they're not happening. I probably need to look at what is going on. What am I doing to sabotage underneath? Like, you're welcome to keep coming on these types of calls. We're going to keep hosting these kind of things. We love doing this, but the information that you're gathering is not going to overcome the belief system that's down there. So at some point, we encourage you to look underneath, and we'd love to do that with you. So I see Ada's hand up. Go ahead, Anna.
And I put a link in that. Oh, perfect.
Okay. Let's see. I don't know how to lower my. Oh, here we go.
We see you.
I don't see myself. I don't know what happened to my video.
It's okay. We can see you. You're good.
Okay. All right. So, I bought your Dating by Design course,
Mhm.
as you know, and I think I finished seeing all the videos.
Yeah.
Finally. And now I'm taking these wonderful Zoom sessions. So I just wanted to get back to you on two things that I talked to you about. I did the speed dating event, and I had these two guys that they at least claimed they wanted to have further contact, and I told you I hadn't heard back from them, and you suggested, well, why don't you try to, in a feminine way, reach out to them and see what happens. So I did do that for one guy, and he did contact me, and we had a few texts back and forth. But when I told him, and he sent me a photo of himself, however, I told him I'm coming back home at this day because I was on vacation, and I haven't heard back from him since. It's been over a week,
Okay.
and I'm not going to text him either
I don't
because,
recommend that either. Yeah.
yeah. But interestingly, I don't know if you recall that when I went to visit my homeland,
Mhm.
I met this very interesting guy. So I've maintained a little bit of contact with him just because I felt like a lot of my complexes were triggered by meeting him. And I thought perhaps the way I was reacting to his personality was in this very super defensive mode, because there were many things about him that reminded me of things that I didn't want. At the other time, I felt like it was blocking me from seeing who he was.
Probably.
And then if I wasn't well at that visit. So I reached out to him a couple times, and we maintained a little bit connections. So suddenly yesterday I get a video from him, after a personal video to me, showing me all the places in my home, town
Sure.
where he had taken me, and
Mhm.
that the few days we were hanging out together. And I wasn't quite sure what he was doing, but he's a very complicated man, very high IQ. He's supposedly a healer, been married several times. I told you, very complex person.
Sure.
and I didn't quite know what it was. So I sent him a voicemail message back with a question mark. And then he wrote me back saying, well, I guess I didn't do a good enough video for you to understand that I was sharing with you something that I thought you would like, were all the places that meant something to you in our hometown. And so I mean, to me, when I have any interactions with anybody, it's an opportunity to learn more.
Sure. Do you have a
So
question about it, or what's?
yeah, so my question was, I feel like I still want to keep that option with him, but I don't want to be running after him.
Okay.
But I don't really know what he wants from me at all, quite frankly.
Okay. Well,
So is
it-
that just in my journey now, just the way I am? Just let it be that way?
well, I mean, that's a very broad question, and I think first, if it really comes down to, are you looking for a masculine man? Do you want something from this relationship? I like to point out that anytime you're in a relationship with somebody who triggers you, that is a blessing in disguise, because the reason you're triggered is you've got something inside of you that your unconscious mind actually wants you to work on,
Right.
or avoiding it. And so
Correct.
most great relationships, you're going to have a partner who pushes your buttons. You've
Correct.
attracted that from an unconscious place so that you can see, oh, there's something for me to work on. Most of us forget that and blame the other person. You triggered me. You are the bad guy.
No, I that's why I'm asking
Yeah.
you, because I recognize that
Yeah.
from the very beginning when
Yeah.
I met him.
Yeah. Well, and that's, I mean, we've had multiple talks with you, Ada. Like
Yeah.
you already know there's stuff in your unconscious mind that it's time to let go of. And when you're ready to do that, we're happy to help you. Until then, you're going to keep getting triggered. That's what it's there for. It's telling you, please pay attention to me. I want to let go of this stuff. I know it's not to my benefit anymore. It wants to be dealt with. And you get to decide how long you want to put up with that and when you're ready to release it. And we're happy to help you when you are.
Okay, but as far as continuing with him, as far as, I mean,
If
is
you're
there
enjoying
something?
it, keep communicating with him. If you enjoy his attention and stuff, I wouldn't send a single question mark back. That's kind of abrupt. If you like any part of the video, if I'm the man sending something to you that I think is valuable, I think you might like, and you send that back to me, I'm like, if you
No, I didn't
like,
send it back to him. I
you sent a
responded.
question mark, right?
I responded with a voicemail just
Oh,
asking, I'm not quite sure why you sent me the video. And when he explained it, then I was very careful to, in English, and very clearly said, yes, I did like it.
yeah,
I
good.
liked the video and it pleased me. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
doing that for me.
Beautiful. Then he'll probably
And then I commented on something that's happening in his life that sounds very interesting. So I was hoping that in that exchange, maybe I made progress with the things that I'm triggered by.
you'll almost never make progress with things that you're triggered by doing a single action. It's usually something that has to be removed through some sort of process. So it could be years of therapy, it could be hypnosis, it could be there's lots of submodalities. We happen to find the one that works for us the best in our experience.
Are you trying to tell me that unless I do your therapy, I don't have a chance of success with
No, I
the
didn't
guys
say,
that I'm meeting after spending the money on the dating by design and doing that? Is that what you're telling me? I guess that's my question.
I'm telling you that you will probably continue to be triggered by people because your unconscious wants you to let go of some things. You can obviously make a relationship work without it, because lots of people do. But if you don't want the triggered responses anymore, you don't have to work with us. We may not even be the right people for you, but there
Mm.
are ways to let go of those things that trigger you. So that's what I'll say about that. Ashley,
Right.
you've had your hand up for a little bit, so let's go to you.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think for me with blending was, I can't remember what concept or what term you used, but basically I'm gonna end it before you do, or I'm gonna do the thing before I allow the things that happen to me. And so I I'm used to operating in my masculine energy. And so did some work with Veronica. And so I think that shifted and I healed that part of me that was attracting those type of men. And so now I'm in a relationship with a man who ebbs and flows between his masculine and feminine energy. He shows up majority of the time in his masculine energy. That's what led us into a relationship. And so like I really don't have to think about things, right? When I'm with him, I could just be a girl. And I tease him and be like, I'm just a girl. But I found myself reverting back to some of my old habits in terms of like shutting down or like, I'm going to end this before like waiting for the other shoe to drop, so to speak. And so I'm aware of it, but I also haven't did anything different. Right. And so I feel like I need to do something different this time so I don't lose this wonderful man by, my triggers or by not being able to stop my impulsive messages and saying whatever comes to mind.
I love that you're aware of that. And this may answer Otto's question too, but I always like to think of this. Imagine you're in a contest and whoever can hold a beach ball underwater for the longest time wins $1 million.
Okay.
There's 1,000 of us in the pool. We all have a beach ball. We're trying to hold it underwater. How long can you hold a beach ball underwater for?
Until my arm starts to get fatigued.
I think if there was $1 million on the line, I could probably go like maybe 72 hours, like maybe 3 days. Like if $1 million was on the line and like gave it my fullest attention, and like the problem is at some point I'm going to be hungry. I'm going to be tired.
Right.
I have to go to the bathroom. I'm going to get distracted. I'm going to need to eat. I got to go to work. Like all the things start to come up. And this is where the unconscious mind becomes the problem, is that when you're conscious, like Otto is talking about, like now that I know it, now can't I just control it? Yes, for as long as you can control it, until you forget that you're trying to control it. And then the beach ball comes up. What we're talking about here is speaking to the unconscious mind and changing that belief. And when you do that, here's a hack, because if you just thought that you had to keep the beach ball underwater, you would think that you have to keep the beach ball underwater inflated. But nobody told you there's no rule against letting the air out of the beach ball.
Just holding on to it. Yeah.
How long can you step on and stand on a deflated beach ball underwater?
A long time.
Time.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't have any power left in it. The air is the power that's bringing it to the surface. When the air is taken out, when you pop that thing, it no longer controls your life. So you don't have to think about it anymore. It's under your feet. It's in the past. It's down there. You can still go back and go, oh, there's a beach ball. I'm in this contest, but I can control this beach ball unconsciously now. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to white knuckle it. I don't have to focus and concentrate and, God, why do I keep screwing up again? Why do I keep doing this? I know better. You do know better. I knew better. But I got tired. I got hungry. I got distracted. And then the old stuff comes up. If you don't want the old stuff to come up anymore, and you don't want to white knuckle it, and you don't want to focus on it, and you want to be free from it, that's when it's time to have that conversation with the unconscious mind. And that's not something we can do in a group call in an hour.
Right.
Deeper than that. It took years for that to happen. It doesn't mean it takes years for it to let go. That's why we're so passionate about this, is you can let go of that stuff in about 6, 7, 8 hours. Then after that, after it's empty, you get to redesign your life and put in the empowered belief. And using things like hypnosis and different techniques, you can put in, who do you want to be? Who were you created to be? Not who were you created to be plus all this baggage.
Right.
Let the baggage go. Who is Ashley? Like, who was she created to be? The most empowered, amazing version of her. Like for me, I always used to say, I'm never going to get divorced. 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 And never getting divorced is not the same as saying, I'm a great husband. I'm going to be a great husband. I'm going to be a great husband.
Right.
They kind of sound the same, but one is towards something and one is away from something. And I was constantly focused on getting away from that monster. And that monster got me twice, even though I kept saying and giving that affirmation, I'm never gonna. It still caught me because I was still focused on it. I didn't step into that identity of being a great husband until I pulled up all those beliefs that said I was going to be a disappointment. When I stopped being a disappointment, I could plant that I could be a great man, I could be a great husband. And then doing what a great husband does became easy. And having the life and the relationship that a great husband has became easy. I wasn't fighting that old belief.
That's fair. So do you all use hypnosis? Like what is the modality that you use to help with the unconscious beliefs?
Yeah, so we use probably a total of maybe like 50 or 60 different techniques, depending on what presents. But the base, probably the deepest fundamental thing, the umbrella is what we call NLP, neuro linguistic programming. But we went through a specific school that trains us how to do mental and emotional release. There's a great book that you can buy on Amazon for $11 called Mental and Emotional Release. We require that, at least the first 4 chapters of that, as reading before you can even, but like before we'll do the techniques with you. It basically shows you kind of how it works, why it works, that it works, all the scientific studies that they've proven it works significantly better than things like cognitive behavioral therapy and all these other things. And it has permanent lasting results. So that's the core of what we do, to let go of most of those things. And then we do, there's so many different terms that won't mean anything, but parts integration and hypnosis and swish patterns and like anchoring and all these different things that we can do to like really lock in the new beliefs. But that's the core of it, is NLP, mental and emotional release. That's the start of it. And then from there we do coaching to make sure that you're building the right habits that create the right character, that get the right results, and create a wonderful life.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
And if anybody wants to know more about that, we're happy to have a conversation with you. Mayan just put the link in there. We'd love to jump on a call with you and just talk about what it looks like and how it might make a difference in your life on that roadmap to the type of relationship that we want you to have. We aren't just, we're not faking this stuff. We just had our 5-year anniversary, and I shared with somebody, like, we're more in love now than at any point. And it's because we keep getting better. She gets better and I get better. I get better and she wants to get better. We keep building each other up, mostly because we quit tearing each other down, because we don't have that stuff inside of us that we're self-protecting, that we want to, like, I want to hurt you because you hurt me. There's none of that. I want to build you up because you build me up.
Yeah.
I want to create something great with you because you make me want to be greater.
I want to work through conflict with you because I know that we have the tools and the skills, and it's going to be,
And it's
going
going
to
to
make
give
us stronger.
a deeper connection.
Yeah.
Like, all of that is possible. We don't just want to help you find a guy to date. We don't want to help you just get into a relationship. We want to help you get that solid foundation. We call ourselves lifelong love coaches for a reason. We're not dating coaches. We teach you how to date so that you can get into a relationship, so that you can create something amazing. Dating is just the beginning. It's the easy part. After that, like, how do you be intentional and create that life that you're looking for? We want to hold your hand through all of that so that you have that great foundation and you can build something that lasts the rest of your life.
So you're saying that you don't even have the temptation to blame the other person at all. Is that correct?
No, I'm not saying you don't have the temptation.
We're
'Cause,
human.
yeah, we're definitely human, but we have the awareness
I
to
don't know.
know.
I wondered. Okay. Yeah.
I'll tell a brief story here. And I may have told it before, but we had an argument that happened because I would come home like with the groceries or something and the door would slam, or I would come home with the dog and my hands would be full and the wind would catch it and the door would slam. I never once slammed the door out of anger, but watching what she thought I was slamming the door. And after like the 5th or 6th time that this happened over months, I'm like, hey, what's going on here? Like, why are you so upset about the door slamming? And she was like really worked up. Like, why do you slam the door? Why do you always have to slam the door? First of all, this is a little tip. If you use superlatives in your language, always, never, all, none, like, you're killing your relationship. That's another next level communication tip. Do
It's
not,
also a sign that there's baggage, there's things to look at. Yeah.
do not use superlatives in your life. It will absolutely harm your relationship no matter what. So she was saying that, and I knew that I hadn't slammed the door. The door had slammed. The door had like shut loudly for sure, but I knew that I hadn't slammed the door. So the fact that she was upset, like, I was concerned, but I didn't take it personally. And I used to be codependent, and I would have been like, I'm so sorry. I'll try not to let the door slam again. that wouldn't have been healthy either, right? But because I knew I hadn't slammed the door and because I had dealt with the codependence part of it, I just said, what's going on here? Like, what is it? What's happening for you? And she like vomited out what she was feeling. And then I stayed calm. I actually have what's called a curious protocol I can share, but it's usually later on how to have this conflict. I stayed calm. I sought to understand what she was talking about. I built rapport with her. I sought to own like my side of it. And then I asked, what's underneath this? When did you feel this way? Like first, what's the first time you remember feeling this way? And in that moment, she went back and realized she used to slam the door when she was growing up, when she was angry. And the sound of a slamming door is an anchor, a triggering anchor that tells you you're not living in a happy home. So I, about 5 or 6 times, accidentally sent a signal to her that we aren't in a happy home. Is that my intention? Did I do any of that on purpose? No. So I can have that conversation and hold the space for her to vomit all that out and then see what's underneath it. Once she knew what was underneath it, oh, this is a thing from my childhood. We have the techniques and the tools. She pulled it right out. Now our relationship is better than it was before. Conflict is an opportunity for deeper connection when handled right. But it's most easily handled right if you don't have the baggage to get defensive, right? I could have easily been, I didn't slam the door, the wind took it. Like it could have blown up into a full-blown fight. But it didn't have to because I didn't have any baggage there.
And I had the willingness and the awareness to look within to
Yes.
say, it's not you. If I'm getting triggered, there's something within me that I get to look at.
Yeah.
So now you both slam the door all the time.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
But I do
Well,
want to
that's-
say
That's good.
your analogy about the beach ball was great, except that I thought you were underwater too. So I'm going 72 hours.
Oh, no, they're just in a pool, like you're just,
Yeah.
when you have to hold the ball underwater.
Yeah.
You can
But
still
that was a
freeze,
great analogy of just poking a hole in it.
right? Like just
Yeah.
deflates. There's no more power in it. And that's
Yeah.
all it is. You still have the beach ball. You still have the memories of everything that happened. There's just no more power in it.
Yeah.
You have overcome it. And that's what we want to help people do. Okay, let's see.
Dr. Ashley asks, do we all work with couples?
We do.
Yes,
we
we
do.
do.
Absolutely. So we do most of our messaging and marketing toward women because we find that when we help them deal with something, they'll attract that ideal partner in, and then life gets easier from there. So we try to I like to say we start upstream rather than we come in and you're 5-6 years into a relationship, you basically want to strangle each other slowly. We don't love helping people that are already like on the downhill slope. We want to help you get from like, you're at a 6, 7, 8, and you can be a 10, you want to be there. Both of you will absolutely help you get there. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us, Ashley. All right. I think that's all we need to cover today.
Yeah.
So
Doc Heather says, I appreciate this session. I've learned some new concepts. I'm going to sit with the possible unconscious, unanswerable questions. What's been holding me back? Thank you both. Yeah, we got the Yogi Bear analogy. 1%.
at least it'll end with somebody.
Right. Awesome.
Guys, Lori said, I'm looking forward to rewatching this. So much rich content. Thank you, Lori. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you so much. Everybody, we've enjoyed this conversation so much, especially the new faces. Mark your calendars for next Wednesday. It'll be same time. We will be in Boston, I believe. We're somewhere between Maine and Boston. We don't even know where we're hosting this event from. So it will not be our lounge, but it will be somebody's lounge that we're in. But we look forward to having that next conversation with you guys next Wednesday. So
And the time change. I mean, the time.
we'll figure it out. Same time,
At the same time.
but
Yeah.
we'll be in
Okay.
the time zone. So
Yeah.
So all right, guys.
Thank you.
Love you.
Thank
Appreciate you. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. thanks for
Make it a
joining.
great week. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Great